my goodness. What a capacity crowd. Well done, everybody. We are truly international this week on Life's a Pitch TV. We've got somebody here from France. From Holland. From Sweden. And so many international fans here this week. We've had to beam. It's like Eurovision. We've got to beam into the Willow Suite here at Venue 16. And we can say hello to our Norwegian fans. There they are, look. Have we missed any other nationalities out? I think we're okay. And we've got our very first hearing dog here as well, Anya, who is beautifully asleep at the moment. She's here with Glenn, she's absolutely delightful. Let me introduce you to the rest of the team. Terry Butcher! Russell Osman! And from twtd.co.uk, Phil Ham! And we've got Richard on technicals acting like an octopus.
That's enough of that for Richard.
To complete our international flavour tonight, we've got someone here from Welsh Wales, you know. It's our special guest tonight. It's Geraint Williams!
From the halfway line, Williams. 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 From the halfway line, Williams.
Welcome to Ipswich.
Fantastic. George, great to have you on the show. That was like a Welsh choir, wasn't it?
That was amazing, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you very much.
I thought you were from Wales.
That was
From the
that
halfway
was some
line.
goal they're singing about there. Take us through that goal, because the amount of people who've been in touch with me on social media since we said you were coming on the show said Williams on the halfway line is unbelievable. So take us through that goal. Can you remember it?
No. Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things. It was the 94th minute. We were already 3-1 up. The boys had done the job. And Alex just squared a pass on the halfway line, and it just seemed to open up. And I didn't know what else to do but run. That's all I could do. So I kept running. It was a bit like Forrest Gump. And then I found myself in the 18-yard box and saw Chris Woods, the England goalkeeper, coming out. So I did my very best impersonation and dinked him over the top, and then it went. And I was in with the crowd. So.
Fantastic, brilliant.
I did that a few times. I scored against Chris Woods a lot of times, but he was my teammate. He was my goalkeeper, and I scored more goals than any other Scottish forward against him. Yeah, but thanks for reminding me about that. That was really kind of you.
Sorry, Butch. Sorry, Matt.
But that was a great moment for, because you've had a fantastic career. Over 800 odd appearances. I think, Terry, you've got the figure, haven't you, somewhere? Or was it?
I lost count actually.
804, I think it was.
804 appearances. It's amazing, incredible, but not many goals, George.
No, it was weird. I mean, when I was a younger player, I was quite free to go and roam. But then when I went to Derby, well, it's quite funny actually, because I think Arthur Cox thought he'd signed the wrong Williams. Not really. There were 3 David Williamses in midfield, and the one
First name's David. Yes. Yeah.
So we did play there on the Saturday, and they put a bid in on the Tuesday. So he saw me play, but when I was there going training, he said to Roy McFarland, he said, "Oh, we've got a good one here, Roy. How many goals you got, son?" I went 4. He went, "I thought it was 12, Roy. We've signed the wrong bloody Williams." And I still don't know to this day I'm not sure he was joking. So he said to me, "Right, you're not going to score goals. Sit there, get the ball, give it to people there, and go do that."
Yeah, well, the rest is history. I mean, over 800 games. That's absolutely staggering, isn't it, boys? And that's
Brilliant.
Sort of total. Incredible. Well, we've got lots to talk about, you and your career and everything. But let's talk about Ipswich Town, because we've got a couple of games to talk about. Let's take a look at the season so far, sponsored by the Dove in Ipswich. And I suppose we ought to start by mentioning the win that we had over Norwich City Russell, would you like to tell us about our victory over Norwich?
Yes, we had a glorious victory against the Norwich ex-legends and part of my
You can
team.
keep booing, by the way, every time it gets mentioned. Go on.
The Ipswich Town legends, 8 of us, including my fellow teammates over there. We took on 8 of the old Canaries, and we beat them at Ipswich Golf Club, fair and square. Kieran Dyer, Luke Chambers played for us, Paul Goddard, Geraint, myself, Kevin O'Callaghan, George Burley, probably one more. But it was a well-earned victory, and we enjoyed celebrating it. You know, I think we did a tour of Portman Road about half an hour after the result came in.
Well, a bus tour around, was it?
Yeah, bus tour. We did a lot. Yeah,
fantastic. And you have a trophy. We've got Phil Ham to hold the trophy up because it is a humongous trophy. Look at that.
It's a good one, isn't it? That? Yeah.
Look at that.
We realised quite how close it is to the old Cup Winners' Cup, didn't we, Terry, just now? And
but it was all played in aid of MND, you know, on behalf of Marcus Stewart and another lady, Sophie. Sadie. Yeah, Sadie Lambert. Yeah. So it was great, very well supported, and I do have to say a big thank you to the nice lads for coming down and making the effort and giving us a half-decent game, wasn't it?
Well, at least we had something to cheer about, didn't we?
Yeah,
and
we
then
did
all of a sudden we go to Carrow Road and it all kind of goes wrong. I mean, you were there, Phil. We just kind of, I don't know, we just didn't seem to show up, did we?
it was a very untypical Town performance, wasn't it? I talked to another ex-player the other day, and he thought that the kind of emotion of the Southampton game, that it took quite a lot out of the team, and we did look tired, didn't we? I think we never really kind of got into our stride. They got that goal in that sort of little period where they won a lot of set pieces, didn't they, around the area, and they scored a goal in that. And then, as they did at Portman Road in the game earlier in the season, they just kept it very tight, and we didn't really have the guile to find a way through them. You can't really think of too many chances that we had where we should have where we could have hit back. I think Connor Chaplin had one, again untypical of him. I think he had a decent chance and he put it over the bar, a reasonable chance and he put it over the bar. So yeah, a very frustrating day and one very sort of untypical of this season. But I think if we win promotion, no one will be that bothered, will they? Ultimately,
No, not at all. No.
I think,
and frankly, we'll never have to play them again.
Well, there is that. I wouldn't mind it being 25 years if we're up for 10 years. Yeah. But yeah, it was one of those days. It sort of swung. Obviously, there's massive disappointment losing that game, but then I was still at Carrow Road doing all the kind of post-match stuff, and you had the Leeds and Leicester games going on in the background, and of course Leeds lost and Leicester dropped points as well. So actually, you sort of left feeling reasonably chipper because the day had gone quite well, really, and then of course Tuesday went quite well as well, didn't it? So I don't know. What do the boys think about the Norwich game?
Not a lot.
I've tried to erase it from my memory, to be honest. But it was. I mean, I was saying earlier on, when you play in these games, you can prepare properly as if it's just another game, and you think you're doing the right things, but subconsciously, it's the biggest game of the season. It's so important, whether irrespective of league positions, it's so important because you can't lose the game. You don't want to lose a game. If you lose the game, it's life isn't worth living, sort of thing. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it feels that way. It really feels that way. But I just think that we went into the game not probably at the right level of mentality, and if you do that, then you're not gonna be have that conviction of going and doing things. Like Norwich had the freedom because they're at home and they're underdogs and not favourites and all that sort of thing with the crowd behind them, etc., etc. So they were buoyed by that. Whereas when you go there and the crowd's against you like that ferocity and that feeling and what it means, it's a hard barrier to get through.
Yeah, we spoke about it at the golf day going, didn't we? And Brian Gunn was there and he was bigging up the Norwich boys as he would do. Yeah,
we're missing a few boos here, crowd. I mean, every time we mention Norwich,
hanging on every word. And I just mentioned the fact that the team that has the majority of their big players perform on the day will win the game, and we didn't have that. We had one or two lads who were just flat on the day, and we needed them to be a lot better than they were. And they, look at Sargent, the way he played for them up front. He was a thorn in the side of the defenders, and he won free kicks, and he kept battling away, and that gave them a bit of momentum, and we didn't have the same thing going our way.
What do you make of it, George?
I was disappointed, as every Town fan would be, and I think Russell's right. At this stage of the season, you've got to remember what's got you, and keep doing that. I mean, I think Kieran's done a fantastic job coaching the lads into a way of playing, a system, and the belief. Now keep believing. But if you do that, just keep doing the job you've been doing. Don't try and do anything different. Don't try and add anything to it. Just keep your head and remember what got you where you are. And I think that's going to be, the story for all the teams now between now and the end of the season. The ones who can just stay in that mindset and do their own jobs that they need to do for the team, they'll be successful.
It shows just how important these fixtures are, doesn't it? That the top 3 teams are all having a bit of a wobble, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of year. I mean, I think whether you're going, the lads used to go for big trophies, but wherever type league you're in at the end of the season, when it's squeaky bum time, and it's who handles those nerves the best, as I say, and keeps their mind on the job and don't get distracted by anything else. Yeah. Just go out on a Saturday and a Tuesday night and do your job.
It's like the Grand National. You can go around the first time, jump all the fences the first time round the lap. Second time you get there, you suddenly hit the lead. You've still got a couple of fences to get over, and you're getting a bit tired, and your concentration's not quite as it was, and you're not quite as sharp as it was on the first lap. But you've got to get the job done. And we probably fell foul of the same scenario back in 81 when, we didn't play very well up at Middlesbrough, did we? And Bosko Jankovic scored 2 headed goals, and in the second half. We didn't get things right at half time. And we went out, knowing that we hadn't sorted things out for the second half, and it just compounded the way we played in the second half. You just got to get the job done.
It's interesting because normally when Kieran brings on the substitutes, then, it turns the game and we have another impetus and another push. But even they didn't really in this game against Norwich.
Finally.
At last. Panto season's here. That didn't seem to make the push, did it?
It didn't the other night, no. It was strange. And Kieran changed things for that game against Watford. He'd left Connor Chaplin out a little bit, left him out. Caden Jackson came in and Broadhead was back in. Kiefer Moore started up front. So one of the other changes was Edmondson playing right-hand side and leaving Wolfie out. Whether that's just a rotational thing, but I think Wolfie will be back now because I think George will be definitely out for the next game with the ankle.
But I think against Norwich, just testing. When Norwich scored, so they 1-0 up, so they're sitting back, and then you haven't got the space in behind. You haven't, having to break down 10 outfield players because everybody came back. So, and that's not an easy job. You need the game to go to and fro a little bit to counter attack and then find the space and Al-Hamadi over the top and all that sort of thing to use his pace. So there was nowhere for them to really work in Town, and consequently he just kept running into a brick wall. And it's easier to defend a 1-goal lead than to try and actually get it back.
I think we're missing Wes Burns. Not just sort of for Wes Burns, playing his usual role, but we're not having Hutchinson come on on the hour or on 70 minutes as he has done, and he's made such an impact in games in that role, hasn't he? And I think he's probably been our best substitute this season. And we're obviously having to start him and play him in various roles. And so the subs are coming on not quite as having the impact that they were early in the season, and we've had so many games. I think players are kind of feeling it a little bit at this point. Now, obviously, after Saturday, we've got a 2-week gap, haven't we? Which I think could serve us well in the fact there's probably a few people who've got. Kieran has alluded to this a few times. That 1 or 2 players are carrying knocks, but also I think by that time Wes Burns will be back, George Hurst will be back. Probably not ready to start that first game, but they will be able to play a role, and I think that's important because I think Kiefer's looked a little bit jaded, I think, in the last couple of games because he's been playing pretty much all the time since he's signed, maybe the last sort of 20 minutes or so. But he started every game. So
it's hard work starting a game now and having to last an hour, Phil, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I know. We can go through your stats. And what is it? 58 starts 58 full 90 minutes a season for about 8 years running.
6 seasons, yeah.
But I think in the current game, I think that because you've got players coming on in that.
Because you've got better training facilities and better medical and better.
Well,
better
everyone
diet,
around you is
better
fit, and everyone you're
nutrition.
playing against is fit.
So they
I think it has
should
an
be
impact.
able to play 2 hours non-stop. Never mind just an hour.
But not at the same level necessarily. I'm sure you're right. They're far fitter because of all those things, and they should be able to play long. But I think everyone around them is, so it's getting that little bit of advantage, isn't
We'll find out when they get in the big boys league, won't we?
Well, we will do, yeah.
Let's talk about Watford, shall we?
Yeah, go on then.
It was a little bit better, George, against Watford, wasn't it? Did you see the game?
I saw the second half,
Yep.
which wasn't a little bit better,
No.
unfortunately. But I talked to the boys earlier, and they said the first half definitely was, and it could have obviously. Again, you get in front, and Watford may have to change the way they play. Second half, when I watched it, they were banked up, and we couldn't break them down, and didn't really look like.
And they were happy to park the bus, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. I mean, it almost like they were playing a testimonial, or they were trying to nutmeg people and trying little fancy flicks, and it was a weird looking performance. But I just wanted us to get a goal in front, and then I think the game's done. But as I've said, I think it's whoever keeps their head now. I mean, if we look at the games to come, obviously, like I said, home Saturday, then the 2 away games are massive. But Leicester have still got to play West Brom and Southampton at home and go away to Preston. So that's not going to be easy for them. So if we can, in the next 3 games, knuckle down and keep to the principles but get results, it's down to that now. You want to do it the right way, but you got to find a way to win now. Which
I think it's down to, in the last few games, who loses the least games is going to win the title and things like this. That's what it seems like. You know, it's crazy that I think at the weekend was that none of the top 3 scored a goal. You know, it's just bizarre. These results have come from nowhere. Then all of a sudden you're facing, well, any one of the 3 could win the title now. So if we want it, if we really want it, and keep doing the things that they know best, I think we will win it. I really do.
It's still very much in our hands now, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we keep winning, we're there.
Yeah.
I think it's right. I think it's we are in the position we're in. And it's quite nice. If we win on Saturday, we'll still be second, won't we? At least second. And then we've got a 2-week gap in which, they can kind of go out, and if they win, they win. And then we've got our games to get a bit of pressure on them over those couple of weeks whilst we're not in action. So,
We're not going to go away to Abu Dhabi again or something like that, are they?
I don't know.
Abu Dhabi do.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, but it's I think it's as you say, it's kind of, you come back to your Grand National thing. No one has been Devon Lock yet, have they? None of these teams have kind of just had a complete collapse,
No.
but there's been these little stutters here and there, and I think you get that in a lot of seasons. I can remember 91-92, just before George signed, that there was a game against Grimsby, just as we were pretty much going to get our noses over the line, and we had a 0-0 with Grimsby, who I think got relegated. Just that little bit of nerviness, and I think that's going through all the teams. But I think one thing we've got that's an advantage over them is that we did this last year. We got promoted last year, didn't we? So we know what it feels like going into these final games. Whereas, it might not affect us quite so much as them. So, but it's going to be very tight. It's almost like musical chairs, isn't it? It's whoever doesn't lose on the final weekend is the
One
ones
thing
who go
has
up.
disappointed me, and that's some so-called fans who are having a bit of a go at the moment. And I think, just get real. We've overperformed, haven't we?
Yeah.
We got promotion last year. We're in the top 2 now. We're pushing for the Premier League. It's in our hands. And you go on social media and there are people grizzling about it. And you think, just get real.
You should be used to that by now, Mark.
Expectations
I am,
change.
but it just amazes me.
But why do you go on social media anyway?
Well, so I can see them grizzling.
But yeah, I think it's
wouldn't bother.
it is ridiculous. You've got to look at it in context, haven't you? And I think there's the kind of fans who sort of during a game or after a game, when it's frustrating, or you've lost to Norwich, or you've drawn with Watford, and there's a bit of a kind of exasperation, isn't there? And it's bloody hell, But I think when you look at it in the cold light of day, we've had a terrific season. We're in a terrific position. We've had a terrific 2.5 years under Kieran McKenna. So
I think
we
it's been
really
terrific, don't you?
we couldn't have asked for
Anyone
any
who
more,
says
could we?
they're not at the start of the season they wouldn't take where we are now is a liar.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Some people like to vent their frustration, and they just vent their frustration on the phone, don't they? I mean, it was getting frustrating watching the Watford game. I'm sat next to Terry, and I want them to move the ball a bit quicker, and you just have to bite the bullet. But some people don't. They'll just get on the phone and they'll express themselves.
Mind you, we had a budding commentator behind us who commentated every second, every move.
I know how to get tickets for Wimbledon.
Yeah,
now
he was talking about that as well. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you learn in the director's box when people
Well, you will
play.
sit in these highfalutin places, won't you?
Yeah.
What do you think, though, over the last couple of years, George? I mean, you obviously follow the town. I mean, it's just been... Kieran's done a magnificent job, hasn't he?
Well, I was on a beach a couple of years ago in the summer, and the phone went, and somebody rang and asked me to go down and help out with the under-18s, which I was happy to do, and had a great time there. Some young talent. Butcher's been down there working with them, which is fantastic for the lads to get his input. And I just think that Ipswich is coming back to what it was, obviously not to these gentlemen' standard, but it's coming back to being that. And I think Kieran is almost doing what Mr. Robson did in that he's
got the identity back again.
He's making players better. I mean, when they started playing out from the back, I think everyone would have, oh no.
Yeah.
and now it's like, oh, okay. There's still a few oh no moments, but it's going to be that way. But Kieran has made players better, and he's got his way of playing, he's got his style. And I worked and watched him, and his professionalism is fantastic. And I was lucky enough to be managed I got brought here by John Lyle, who he is the most knowledgeable football man I've ever talked to. But watching Kieran work, it was very, very impressive. Very impressive.
Can I just say one thing? Could you imagine me and Terry Butcher getting the ball off Paul Cooper on the edge of the 6-yard box?
All day long, Matt. All day long.
Wow, you
Bit
never
risky,
did
that
that. If you did that, you'd be out the door. Go on. You don't do that in our club. Yeah. Nah. Really. I mean, all they wanted, Bobby and the two Bobbies wanted the fullbacks to get the ball because the fullbacks can see the whole pitch. So it was important to get the ball to the fullbacks, particularly in an advanced area. But the fullbacks now are actually higher than the wingers are. They're right up there. You can need a telescope to see where they are. But it is great. And I mean, even like the goalkeeper gives you a few dodgy moments, but they play it so well, and they want teams to come down on top of them because then they can get the ball up to the striker, then they can break. And there's no better sight than to see, Tam playing out for the back, getting it right, and getting right at the heart of the opposition. There's no danger, but it's just a lovely. They're all confident on the ball. Then that's the best thing about it.
I think that the main thing is, like you've just said, though, you knew exactly what Mr. Robson wanted.
Oh yeah.
So you practiced it. You knew what it was. Everyone was on the same page. And I think that's there's no right or wrong way to play football. There's a winning way.
Yeah.
There's a pleasing way to look at it. But if you're losing every week, that's not going to last long.
No, you're going to be out of a job, aren't you?
As long as a coach can get you, the players, to know exactly what their roles are within that system and what you're looking to achieve, I think that's his job. And I think that's where, as you say, you had great players who could do it as well. And these players are getting better, and they know what their jobs are, which is good.
Yeah, he really is bringing them on, isn't he? Amazing, really. That's fantastic. Let's talk about you. So it was Mr. Lyle that brought you to town. Tell us how that all came about.
It was, yeah. Well, we were fighting for promotion in 91, 92 and didn't make it at Derby. So Ipswich Town did. Mm-hmm. And John, it's quite funny because Paul Goddard, who will go back to it Derby days, he came in training one day and he said, who was I talking to about you this weekend? So I don't know. So he said, oh yeah, John Lyle, when he was at West Ham. He said he rang me and asked me about signing you, and I told him, nah, don't bother. I said, Sarge,
He's a good judge, you know. He's a good judge, yeah.
he said, no, listen, he said, what he was looking for was a goal-scoring midfield player. I went, oh, fair enough, yeah, all right. So I think that just stuck in his head, John, and then obviously when Ipswich got promoted, he was looking for somebody to sit in front of the back four and let Jason Dizelle go and score goals. So he talked to Paul again, and Paul said, oh, yeah, this time that's the role for him, so definitely. So that's how it came about.
Any hesitations about coming to town, or were you just sort of thought, actually, this is a great step up?
I wanted to play back in the top league. The boys know there's no other place to play. You know, when you're a young boy, you don't think about how much money you're going to make. You think about going to play at Old Trafford and all these places, at Arsenal, you know, the big grounds. That's where you want to play. So the pull of the Premier League was there. But I'd been at Derby 7 years, and they'd offered me a 3-year contract in the summer with a testimonial. So I was like, oh, I'm getting to that age where you do start thinking about money a little bit. And so I talked to John Lyle and Charlie Woods. John said, just, Charlie, talk to him for a couple of minutes. And he was just doodling away. And he's going, there you go. Yeah, okay, I can't do your testimonial, obviously, but he said, I'll give you 4 years. And I was 30 years of age. And I'm like, 4 years?
Stumped his hand.
I went, well, I'll go and talk to the wife, right? And because she makes all the decisions, obviously. But it just showed such a trust in me. He said, I've seen you play. He said, you keep yourself fit. You'll do 4 years. I'll give you 4 years. So I thought, wow, this man really wants me to come. It's Premier League. I talked to the wife. I said, come on, let's go. And never regretted it.
Yeah. And you know, people talk about his knowledge of football, but it was more than that. He was a real people person, wasn't he?
He looked like everyone's favourite granddad, but then, like, when he got angry, he had these massive big mitts on him that you didn't want to see him waving them about too often, so he didn't. But I mean, we played early on. I think we were 8 games unbeaten first year in the Premier League, but we had Wimbledon at home, and we had injuries, and so they had Vinny, John Fashion, Big Eric Young at the back et al, and John comes in on Monday and he goes, I think I'll play Mickey Stockwell centre forward Saturday. Yeah, good on, John. Yeah. Now go on, mate, go and play up there. And so we started working on some things. He said, yeah, they wouldn't expect that. He said, so I don't see anyone playing the ball over head height into the centre forward, because obviously Eric, yeah. So into Mickey's feet, a little bit of movement, coming in, and when we whip balls in along the deck, get across them and do that. We won 2-1 and Mickey Stockwell scored both goals. And you just walk back in after the game and go, this bloke's a genius. There's no other word for it. And then next week he's back playing fullback again. But for that one game, he just saw what it would take and what we had to do to win the game. And it's amazing. Brilliant.
And he had a bit to prove as well, didn't he, John Lyle? I mean,
He did. But, I mean, we used to go, and everywhere he went, he had a plan for a game. I mean, he won the Cups at West Ham, and I don't think they finished any higher than when he was there with McAvenny and Paul Goddard and that. But he did have something to prove, but not to anyone that worked with him. I mean, I was told when I went to the funeral, I spoke to his son, and Alex Ferguson used to ring him up when United were having a bad time. And he'd send him a tape down and say, John, can you have a look at that for us? And then John would phone him back and have a chat. Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, of course, thanks, cheers. And that's how highly thought of he was in the game by people up to Sir Alex Ferguson would ask him for his opinion on what was happening. Unfortunately, he must have told him too well, because we got beat us 9-0 in the end, didn't we? That was probably John's tactics, because he wasn't here then, was he? But the first 2 years in the Premier League, we went up to Man United and drew 1-1 and 0-0, because he had a plan for it.
So from the little boy from the valleys to be playing at Old Trafford and getting these, how did that feel for you when you're running out against these?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. You had to pinch yourself sometimes, because not many people, even Cardiff City, didn't go scouting up the valleys. They just scouted in Cardiff. And we were just lucky that Bristol Rovers at the time had a really good nursery in South Wales. And they would go, and every Sunday you'd have to go and play against the best team in another region. and that's how you get picked up. But then every Sunday was another trial, because the boy you were up against, if he had a good game, he might be taking your spot. So almost every Sunday, you were playing for your position at Bristol Rovers, and it was tough.
Up the gas.
They had 7 or 8 Welshmen in the first team when I went over there, so you knew you'd get an opportunity to play as well.
What about these Welshmen in our team now?
Well, a lot of them were in my. I was coaching the intermediate teams, under 17s, 19s, and 21s, and Wes was actually played centre forward. I did move him to wide right because he prefers seeing things in front of him rather than his back to goal. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. And now Kieran again, being Kieran, he's fine-tuned it to that sort of half wing back, half more attacking than a full back, but not quite a winger. And he's done well. But lots of lads. Ellis Harrison was involved in it. Brody, he's a smashing young kid. Sorry to say this, but we beat England, I think, one of the only times, 3-2 in the under-19s qualifier, and Brody scored a couple, and you knew his attitude, his enthusiasm, and with a good coach working with him 7 days a week, he was going to come on.
Yeah.
This has been a great move for Wes Burns, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Coming to Ipswich.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known Wes when he was in the academy at Bristol City, so I've seen him for a long time. And he went to Cheltenham, and he went up north, didn't he? And Fleetwood. And once he came down here, and he was encouraged to just play down the flank, and whether it's out and out winger, whether it's like a wing back, as you say, but when somebody was actually putting their arm around him and saying, "Listen, you could be a good player, pal."
Yeah.
Then he started believing himself, and he got a run of games. He scored a few goals. He got the crowd behind him. They love him. His hair was getting longer, and So
With his haircut, I was on the side of the pitch. I thought we signed a new player. I just didn't recognise him without his hair.
I know. I think he should go back to how it was.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And goal of the season for him as well, I think.
Well, that's something I didn't see from him too often. A little outside of the foot bender in the top corner, which was absolutely brilliant, and I hope he gets it. But he's a smashing lad, and I think that's another thing. When you look at the group of players there now, they all seem to get on again, and it's everyone pulling in the right direction. When times get hard, you got to look at the bloke next to you and know he's coming in the trench with you, and he's going to stand there. And I think we had 2 seasons. The lads who did so well to get up in 91, 92. I think I was the only player that came in. Bless him for Glenn Pennyfather.
Yep.
And there was that feeling amongst them that they were going to stick together and do everything.
Was it 650,000?
It was, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Sounds like peanuts.
Well, yeah, it does now, but that was a lot of money at that time, was it not?
It was for a 30-year-old, yeah.
A week?
It was, and again.
A week, not a week.
It would be today.
And I just think that you sometimes in situations you need that team spirit and that pulling together. And as it went on, we didn't have too many changes, but the second year, then the third year in the Premier League at Ipswich, it wasn't quite that sort of all for one for all feeling about it. And then when the going gets tough, it falls apart a little bit. So, it's important that you get not just the right skill level of a player, but the right character, and a lot of that goes in.
You didn't miss many games at all at Ipswich. Like you were always there, weren't you?
Yeah, I think I had a 6-week. It's the only muscle I've ever pulled in my life. Pulled a hamstring. Had a 6-week hamstring. I think that was it. Yeah, in 6 years. Yeah.
I've got a quote about 4 quotes about you here, and it says,
Steady now.
I know,
Steady now.
yeah. I don't know who said this, but it said he's known for his acceleration.
I was quick over the first couple of yards.
Oh, right, yeah. Positional sense, tactical discipline, intelligence, energy, and ball-winning ability.
Oh, I love my wife. Thanks, Lev.
She's always on that Wikipedia, isn't she?
Oh,
Yeah.
God bless her.
Yeah,
But,
she's always on that.
also, following that quote, it says, in his role, he wasn't the fastest, most talented, or technically skilled player on the ball, or particularly good in the air.
Yeah, that was Bobby
But there's a bit of a
Gould.
downside, obviously, to the first quote, but there we are.
That was Bobby Gould, that was. He did. in my there, by the way. But there you go.
Yeah.
No one did. No.
Not on your own there.
But then,
Go on, Phil.
I
Go
was
on.
saying, then obviously after John Lye went, George Burley came in. How did you find working under George?
I thought he was really, really had the club at heart. and it took him a little while to find his feet. I think he wanted to come in. He'd played in a great team, and I think he wanted to come in and go back to being on the offense. John would find a way to win a game. I think George wanted to go, right, you go up against him, you go up against him, you go against him, and we're going to go for it. And we weren't good enough. You know, I think, you know, Walkie was on last week, and he said some games you'd be going into it and you'd be thinking like, oh, we need to be a bit steadier rather than go gung-ho. But that was just his enthusiasm and his confidence. And I think it says, you know, wonders for the football club that a manager, that result, even though I think we did beat them 3-2 at home as well that year.
Yeah, I'd say
it doesn't get mentioned very often that we did beat them at Portman Road 3-2.
That's when we speak to Paul Mason.
Yeah.
Or Frank Yallop.
But, and George then, I think, found where the club was, found what he wanted to do and found the way to do it. And obviously, you know, fantastic success. And the main thing about George was he always talked to me, I think he thought perhaps I was getting over the hill because he was managing at Colchester. I'd coming up to 34 and he wanted new young players. And he came in and he said, I didn't realise what a good professional you are. And that, you know, for him to come in and say that shit and then say, will you sign another year for me, please? And you go, wow. You know, that says an awful lot about George as a man. And when I left, same thing, you know, he said, you know, we've got Kieran Dyer and Matt Yolland coming in. I went, right, yeah, okay. There we go. The writing's on the wall.
It was basically Kieran that replaced you, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so he said, but look, you know, if I play 3 in midfield, we'd like you to come in and sit and be out, let those two go, and perhaps do a bit of coaching or something. But at my age, I just wanted to carry on playing. So we shook hands and left on good terms, and got a lot of respect for George.
And he built that. But you were still there while he was built, because it was a sort of progressive thing, wasn't it? He built that team over a period of time, and you obviously were part of it in that great day at Reading we've already alluded to. But yeah, it was building that team over time, wasn't it? Using the players that he inherited and then bringing in his own players as he went along.
He was, and I think it takes time. I mean, that 91-92 side was living on the fact that they were good lads, they had a great coach, and that they had a bit of ability. But obviously, the team in the 70s, 80s had fantastic players 1 to 11. Now, if you haven't got that, you've got to bring them in. But I think we found in the past at Ipswich, when you try to bring in 8 or 9, 6 or 7 of them, 5 or 6 of them are not going to be able to step and make it better. So it does take time to build a team. It's not just a magic thing where you bring 7 lads and all of a sudden in they go and, you know, it's all hunky-dory. Unless, as I say, that you've got that talent 1 to 11 at the start.
Yeah, or grow your own.
Yeah.
Like we did at Ipswich for a while.
Exactly.
I mean, Kieran's been fabulous in the transfer market, hasn't he? Particularly in Januaries.
Yeah.
Where they've worked wonders, haven't they?
Well, I think they've got like a whole team now behind it as well. It's not just because it's really tough for a manager these days with all the application you need to watch. I know they have analysts to cut for them, but to watch games, analyse what you've done, because you go over that, then you're preparing for the next one. It's hard then to say, well, now show me like 50 videos of some new centre forward and I'll have a look at it.
How much time do you think like a manager now gets to watch potential new players? Because you can't have much time to sit there and pore over videos and all these clips and all these sort of kind of things as well, because he's got other jobs to do. So how much, I mean, like you've seen Kieran and you've worked with Kieran. So does he spend much time going over there, or is he just get a package?
I think he's mostly worried about what he's going to do, the game coming up. Then did we do it, and then on to the next one. And as I say, I think you've got to have a team behind you, because
Recruitment team.
Yeah, I mean, in the days when we did, like, you'd have a warm down day or something after you've played the game, and the manager he didn't have a video or anything to watch, so he could go and watch another game, or he could do whatever he wanted, or let's talk to scouts or say how did he do, and I think now the meetings that they have, like for preparation, for this, for that, and even now the squads are so big that when the first team are perhaps doing recuperation, there's another squad of players and they want the manager to go out and take them. If you want to feel part of it, you've got 20-odd squad. Yeah. If you say, well, I'm only going to do the first team, and the other 10, the manager doesn't go on the training ground with them, I think they're going to get a bit fed up. So I think most of his work, and I think he's a natural coach anyway, will be done in that. And the scout, and then I think when they've got something, a target to bring to him, I think then he'll say, right, let me have a look at it, and then we'll do that. I'll make a decision.
And I think he will say, right, we want a centre forward. Broadly, the attributes we need from a centre forward is this, and then they go out and they find players like that, don't they? And then they bring him a kind of short list. I think that's how it kind of. I think he's someone who is always scouting, though, isn't he? He's watching a game and he's looking at players, thinking, quite like the look of him, and then they'll kind of look into the background in that way as well, I think.
Well, as I said, that's what happened to me when I joined Derby. We played at a baseball ground on the Saturday. I played for Bristol Rovers, and then Tuesday they put a bid in for the Ron Williams.
Yeah. Well, I think the recruitment side of it is one of the most important jobs at a football club.
Massive.
You know, whether you're recruiting the
That's
manager.
that's what you're judged on at the end of
Yeah.
that.
That's it.
If you haven't got the talent, no matter how good you are as a coach, if somebody hasn't got talent and you can't make them better or they ain't got a good character, you're not going to be as successful as
So,
you can be.
recruit a good recruiter.
Massive, yeah.
And you've stayed around these parts, haven't
I
you?
have,
You've made this your home.
Yeah.
What's so special about this kind of area? Because a lot of players do end up sort of thinking, where is Ipswich? And then once they discover Ipswich and Suffolk, think, well, actually, it's not a bad place to live, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of reminded me of Wales in the good old days when we got here. It was laid back. People were friendly enough without being sort of in your business.
The mountains.
Was it? Where was that? Hang on a minute. You said Wales in the good old days. When was that? When was the good old days at Wales?
When we had jobs.
Yeah, John.
But yeah, and then you know, we've had the two children. They've grown up round here now, and I've actually good remembrance.
I have reminded you. You've got to say hello to some special people, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is that obviously I was going to leave because I was working in Wales, and my son told me that him and his partner were expecting our first grandchild. So the wife obviously said, right, we're in Ipswich for life now. So if I could say, where's the camera? Oh, here we go. If I could say hello to Evelyn and George and 10-week-old Fionn. See you when I get home. Thank you.
And from town, spell at Colchester as a player?
Yeah, it was interesting because it was
It's a well-worn path, isn't it, down the A12?
Well, yeah, there was it was, and there was some lots of well-known faces that I got used to, and even when I went into coaching, then obviously Mickey Stockwell, Jason Zell, Gavin Johnson, there was loads, but they brought a bit of quality and a bit of professionalism, so it was great. As I said about characters, when you had those boys showing the Colchester boys why they played at Ipswich, and you said, if you, to the younger ones in a Colchester, if you want to build a career, this is how you behave, this is how you work, this is what you do. So I think Colchester really did well out of Ipswich, but then you have to be careful that you don't overload with 38-year-old Ipswich players. So there's a fine line, but I think it's a good line. And when you get it right, it's great for Colchester United and to come up.
And then you were the manager.
Oh, you didn't have to mention that, did you?
No, I'm sorry.
No, the fact that we finished above Ipswich in the Championship that year.
You beat Ipswich,
I know.
didn't you? You beat Ipswich at Layer Road, I think. Yeah.
Both years, yeah. Both years we were in the Championship. We lost at Portman Road and we won at Layer Road. I think it was the same score as we lost by 1 and 2, and we won by 1 and 2. So.
And you finished 10th, didn't you, the first year? Is that right?
10th it was, yeah, thanks. And then, as happens, we sold 6 players, and we got relegated the next year. Recruitment was bad.
Yeah,
Recruitment
bad
was
recruitment.
But I mean, that's Colchester punching well above their level, though, to be in the Championship.
I mean, it got a bit crazy at one stage towards the end of the season. I think we went up to Stoke with 3 games to go, and we were above Stoke. We were 1-0 up half time. We lost 3-1 in the end, but Stoke went up through the playoffs, I think. And at the time they were talking about Colchester hiring Portman Road for games in case we got in the Premier League. It was mad. Yeah, it was crazy.
Because Layer Road, well, people forget, like Layer Road's been gone a while now, hasn't it? But Layer Road was ramshackle at best, I would have said.
Well, our first game in the Championship, I think there was 3,000 odd there. I mean, by the end it was full. But that season, those players, I mean, had a great number 2, Mick Harford. So I didn't have to worry about the lads behaving. I'd just tell Mick to tell them, and it was done. But we lost the first 4 games, and I thought, oh, this is not for me. What have I done? And then we won 11 games on the trot at home in the championship. Wow. And it was just, down to the players. It was fantastic.
Yeah, good times. Good times. Right. We have a little challenge for you.
Oh, no.
I know you're really looking forward to this.
We've got to run from the halfway line.
Yeah, Williams from the halfway line. I know. It's time for our Keep It Up challenge, sponsored by Ginger Pickle. Right, here we have George. When was the last time you kicked a ball?
About 2 years ago.
Over into the performance area. Phil's on the whistle. Terry's on timing. And capacity crowd, do you want to come forward? And you're on counting duty, so count out nice and loud, because we could be here some time. We could be here 60 seconds.
There's only one
Joe
been here,
Sheehan to
60
beat.
seconds.
Yeah, there is
You
only
really
one
know
who's done
Joe.
60, so
You know Joe. Joe's a great coach as well. Doing very well with the ladies team.
yeah, he has. Happy?
Yes.
Okay, on the whistle.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Brilliant job. That was better than you expected, wasn't it? That was fantastic. Well done. Well done. So what do we reckon it was? 40.
Oh dear, that's knocked Russell off the board.
It's your age.
Oh my goodness, does that Russell is off the leaderboard.
Sorry, Matt.
I don't think any of us are on there now, are
off
we?
the board now.
No, but we were. We
We
were
were
on
at some point, yes. Yes, well done. Back to your seats. Come on, back to your seats, everybody. Fantastic job. Well done.
Thank you
well
very
done.
much. Yeah, I'll take that.
I'll let you catch your
still
breath.
breathing.
Yeah. Walkie was puffing a bit last week as
I
well.
did
So,
Yeah, you're above Walkie. So
what did Walkie get?
Walkie got 34.
Ooh,
I beat the legend.
you beat Walkie.
Oh, that's it. I'm happy with that.
You're the highest Welshman on the board, I think.
Welshman.
None of us been in then.
Not as yet. Anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, hello. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and smash that like button if you possibly can, please. That would be really, really good. And I keep saying this every week. We are about, honestly, to announce our end of season dinner, but we just haven't quite finalised details. But it will be very, very soon. So let's. What are we going to do now? Oh yes, time for the news in brief, sponsored by John Keeble Cars in Bramford.
I can't see the screen for this trophy.
Yeah, you're on.
It's huge. It's huge. Well, yeah, it's a bit heavy, actually. Well, boss Kieran McKenna and left-back Leif Davis have been nominated for the Sky Bet Championship Manager and Player of the Month awards for March. The Blues claimed 12 points from 15 during the month, with Davis part of a defence which recorded 3 clean sheets while scoring once and picking up 3 assists. McKenna, who previously won the award in September, is up against West Brom's Carlos Corberan, Daniel Farker of Leeds and Norwich's David Wagner. Very good. Davis is shortlisted alongside Mikey Johnston of West Brom, Gabriel Serra of... Preempted there, that's very good. Of Norwich City and Ellis Sims Coventry City. Winners of both categories will be announced tomorrow morning. I don't know, I'm not going to... I think we're in decent shout there, I have to say. Keeper Václav Hladký is close to signing a new contract with the Blues, with his current deal up at the end of the season. Speaking on Monday, the Czech said talks have taken place and is in no doubt he wants to stay. The contract is not signed yet. This is the only thing I know, and you can ask someone else, he said, slightly mysteriously. The 30-year-old says he's happy at the club and is keen to get it signed. 100%. My biggest point is I want to carry on here. It's a massive club, and I'm so happy coming here every day, and I want to stay here for sure. Hopefully we can find a way and we can get it done. Hladky kept his 14th championship clean sheet of the season last night. So I think that's kind of probably just a little minor detail to be...
For a lot of people, player of the season.
Yeah, I could see that. We'll come on to that momentarily, actually. British and Commonwealth heavyweight champion Fabio Wardley could fight at Portman Road before the end of the year, according to Town CEO Mark Ashton. We've always been open to him fighting at Portman Road in his hometown in front of what will be a huge crowd, Ashton told Sky Sports. Of course, with anything, the time needs to be right for both the club and Fabio. But when that time is right, Portman Road will be waiting. We'd love it to be this year. The 29-year-old, who recently retained his belts following a sensational draw with Fraser Clark at the O2, with a rematch probably his next fight, would be delighted. Whoever I fight there, it would be a dream come true for me to fight at Portman Road in front of over 30,000 people. So that's another event to look forward to at some
I think
point.
he would fill the crowd, the ground. I really do.
Yeah, well, it'll be a fantastic event, whatever, I think. Yeah. And as Mark was talking about players of the year, the Supporters Club Player of the Year awards will be handed out before and after Saturday's home game against Middlesbrough. The Academy and Women's Player of the Year gongs will be handed out before the match, along with the Irene Davey Award dedicated to the memory of the Supporters Club's former patron, who died earlier this year, and will be presented by a member of Irene's family. The Men's Player of the Year and Portman Road Moments Award, which is a new award marking an iconic moment from home games this season, which I suspect will probably go to Wes Burns for that goal, will be announced at full time.
Yes, I've got to do all that.
Yeah,
That's my job.
That's your job.
Before and after, apparently. Yes.
Do you know all the...
I don't. No. I won't find out till Saturday.
Right, so we can't get any insider knowledge. No. And finally, friends and family of town fan Gary Battle, who died aged 52 following a brave fight against a brain tumour on April the 5th, are asking fellow supporters to hold a minute's applause after the clock ticks past the 52-minute mark during Saturday's home game against Middlesbrough. You may recall Steve Kirby raising funds so his best friend Gary could fulfil one of the entries on his bucket list, watching a town game from a Portman Road executive area. More than £3,000 was raised, and Gary saw the FA Cup tie against Maidstone from the Sir Bobby Robson suite, meeting a number of current players as well as legend John Walk. Sadly, that proved to be Gary's last town match. I'm sure everyone will be willing to take part and pay their respects to Gary, with the family also raising money for the St Elizabeth Hospice and the Town Foundation in tribute. There's links on TWTD.
Yeah. 52. Bless him. Once a blue, always a blue.
Terry's got a connection there as well, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, he's my niece's husband, and we used to go to his house, and he had this man cave, very small man cave, but it was just Ipswich Town. Yep. It was wall to wall, everything to do with Ipswich Town. He loved the club. He loved coming to the club, and he was at the North Stand in the disabled area, and he was. It's just really sad because, like Paul Mariner, with the brain tumour, it's just tragic how it happens, but it's just we've lost one of our own. Simple as that.
I'm sure the town faithful will do the business on Saturday. So let's have a look and see what's happened to Ipswich Town on this day in the past. It's sponsored by Fred Olsen Logistics.
Right, on this day in the past, we're going back to Saturday, the 11th of April. First of all, 1953. Doug Dye Rees scored his only Ipswich Town goal in 386 appearances in the 2-2 draw.
You want to dig there, Russ?
He's a bit like you, Geraint.
There's a theme there, isn't there?
Yeah. Also on the 11th of April, this time in 1974, Matt Holland, born in Bury, was a magnificent Ipswich Town servant in a career spanning 6 seasons. After 314 outings and 45 goals, Holland joined Charlton Athletic, but left a lasting impression after signing for AFC Bournemouth in August 1997.
Happy 50th birthday to Matt Holland.
Happy birthday, dear Matty. Happy birthday to you.
He doesn't look 50, does he?
In the Gloria, in the Gloria, in the Gloria. That's a Netherlands one point.
Excellent. Wow. Matt Holland is like Ray Crawford. The two, neither of them age, do they? No. They just look the same every time you see them. Sorry, boys, I don't mean
It's all
to.
right, that's all that happened on
open,
this
I'm off.
day. And if anybody's at a loose end tomorrow night, come and listen to me at Ufford
Yes,
Park.
Ufford Park tomorrow night, Thursday night.
Past Heroes,
Friday
yeah.
night. Friday
Yeah,
night, yeah.
Friday night. That's tomorrow night, yeah?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow
yes.
night, yeah.
All day.
Yeah, I think tickets still available.
7
are they?
o'clock.
There's a link. There's a link on the front.
There's
of
a link for
CWCD.
pastheroes.co.uk. I'll be talking about Phil and Terry and Geraint, and I'll forget about Mark now, and
Yeah,
Richard
wait,
over there. And
Anyway, it's time for the Man v Fat results. A disappointing week for the Man v Fat lads this week, with a net gain in weight following the Easter break. Too many chocolate eggs, boys.
There you
Does this mean both teams lose?
Well, this week's results: Far From Athletic 11, Seattle Quarter Pounders 8, Pork Vale 7, LA Galaxy Bar 5, To Lose a Few Pounds 7, Man Titty 8. Congratulations to Paul Bailey, Kyle Gower and Matt Laney, who all hit percentage milestones, and that is from Man v Fat Mark. That's it for this week. I think it's time for another song for George Williams, and there is only one song, isn't there? After 3, 1, 2, 3.
Williams from the halfway line. 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 Williams.
It's like the Ice Stedford.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's enough now. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
It's lovely. You've got a real place in town fans' hearts. You really have. It's fantastic, and well done for getting 40 and getting up onto our leaderboard on the Keep It Up challenge.
Thank you very much.
The grandkids will be very proud, George.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, they will. He's done well. Granddad's done well. Thanks very much, Capacity Crowd. Thank you to our French fans. To our Dutch fans. To our Norwegian fans in the Willow Suite. Some in here as well. And there they are, look, there they up the town.
All there.
And our Swedish fans. Norway fans, you can come in here after we've finished. Come and have a beer and have some photographs done in here. Thanks, top team. Fantastic stuff. Let's hope we do well against Middlesbrough at the weekend.
Yeah, well, we need a win, don't we?
We do.
I don't
It's
think
all
we
in our hands
need
now,
anything
isn't
else.
So, yeah, plenty of cheering, plenty of blue armies, please. I'm still struggling from last night, actually, with screaming a few of those out on the PA system. Thanks to our main sponsors, DPS Tech. We're also sponsored by All About Hearing, marketing company Ginger Pickle, Forward Floors, Come Hither Design, the Hudson Group, Sound4 Pro Audio, Fred Olsen Logistics, John Keeble Cars in Bramford. I'm still scrolling. The Dove in St Helens Street in Ipswich. Ashford Wright, and the sofa is sponsored by DPS Tech. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, George. Really great to see you. Thanks, Capacity Crowd. Thanks to you for watching and listening. And we'll be back next week. And all I want to say is for now, up the town. Come on! Do